You're watching the Fox 9 Morning Buzz.
Hey, welcome back. It's 9:43. You know, long before Minnesota athletes like Joe Mauer, Lindsey Whalen, and Larry Fitzgerald Jr. were household names, they were learning what it takes to succeed.
Yeah, in the new book, Minnesota Made Me, dozens of athletes, both lifelong residents or transplants, all share something in common. The North Star State guided them on their journey to success both on and off the field. And joining us this morning is local author Patrick Borzi. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning.
Welcome to the show this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right. These are named folks. These are folks that not everyone knows about, but obviously are popular in their own circles. How many of these different Minnesota athletes do you cover over the course of your book?
Well, there are 38 in the book.
Wow.
32 I interviewed. 32 I interviewed. 6 have passed away. One of them, Jerry Kindle, a former baseball player from the U, unfortunately passed away before I could interview him. But there are a wide mix of folks. We wanted to make sure we had folks from all parts of the state, from all different sports, all different backgrounds. We didn't just want to have like 10 Vikings and 10 Twins. So there's some very familiar names in this book, like Larry Fitzgerald Jr., and some folks that maybe are familiar to some niche audiences, but maybe not familiar to everyone.
Okay, so the people that are unfamiliar to a lot of people, even though, of course, they had their fans for sure, why did you choose them? What was it about their story that you decided to highlight?
Well, I think there were several of them that I mean, I knew about, or that other people had told me about, that just they had unique stories. They were either role models or pioneers or trendsetters, and folks that I think if you pick up the book and you see some of these names, I mean, some of them will be, oh, I didn't realize that person was from Minnesota, and some people will be, I never heard of this person, and why haven't I heard of this person? Because he or she has a great story to tell. You know, Toni Stone, who was a baseball player from St. Paul. She played in the Negro Leagues at the very end of when the Negro Leagues were in their heyday, when they were looking for a little bit more publicity. And folks in St. Paul who follow baseball will probably know who Toni is, but she was just a terrific little player who has a statue in the Negro Leagues Hall of Fame. So it was quite interesting to come across some of these folks.
Well, that's got to be kind of the fun in digging some folks up like that. And they all, of course, have the core of something about Minnesota and their backgrounds help them along the way. What do you think it is about our state or our people or our cultures that we've developed around here that has helped these particular athletes and attributed to their success?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are two things that I found that are kind of common denominators with all of these folks. And the first is the kind of the toughness and pride they develop in being able to play sports outside in the winter. I mean, there are a lot of these folks that played hockey or they played football or they played soccer. They had to play in the elements, and you get a kind of a toughness and a pride in yourself in being able to do that. And also, most of these folks played multiple sports. They didn't just specialize in one thing. And because of that well-roundedness and that toughness, that enabled them to succeed against other folks from other parts of the country.
So besides, of course, looking at, you know, how well they did, the field or, you know, whatever the sport was, who did you turn to for some of the athletes that have passed away to get to know about them?
Well, I did a lot of research on my own, and I talked to a lot of different people who knew some of these folks. It was quite interesting to learn quite a bit about, for instance, Patty Berg, who's a golfer from Minneapolis, who would play touch football in the street with a bunch of people in South Minneapolis, including Bud Wilkinson, the famous football coach. And again, she was a person that maybe a lot of people might not remember was from Minnesota. And her background was particularly interesting because she was a pioneer of the ladies' professional golf tour back in the 40s and 50s when it got rolling. And I think she's one of the people that you're going to look in this book and go, I wasn't aware of her.
What is it that led you to this? You've covered professional sports. What made you decide, you know what, we need to put these stories all together in one place? And
well, it was actually the book company that came to me, as well as my wife, who was Rachel Blount, the sports writer for the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. Okay. And they wanted us to kind of tag team it. And they were interested in the two of us because neither one of us grew up here. You know, I'm originally from New York, as if the accent's not a dead giveaway.
I kind of noticed.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Please don't hold it against me. And my wife is from Iowa. She had to beg out because she was getting ready to cover her 10th Olympics. So I took this on myself, and just as kind of you know, I've lived here for a long time. I think a lot of folks still consider me an outsider. And just from kind of an outsider's perspective of how all these folks succeeded from all different areas and all different backgrounds kind of intrigued me, because it was also educational for me to learn how all these folks succeeded.
Well, the wealth of sports knowledge at your dinner table must be amazing. Need to come to you for some info.
We talk about a lot of different things. You'd be surprised what we talk about.
I'm sure it's not just one-dimensional. But Patrick, thank you so much for coming on today. And we're learning more about our sports stars from Minnesota.
Yeah, the book is called Minnesota Made Me, and the launch party and book signing is tonight. It's from 7 to 9 at Summit Brewing Company in St. Paul. It is free, but you want to RSVP for that. For more information and to order that book, visit pressboxbooks.com, pressboxbooks.com.
I like the name.
I do too.
Minnesota